go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. Gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas as though you run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. But mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with Dizzy. I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang, taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that should change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. Don't fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
Your attention, please. Please do not smoke in the terminal building. Smoking is only permitted in the specified smoking areas.
Zach.
Thank you.
OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, Henny, he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas as though you run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. But mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with Dizzy. I draw up the plate, and he go get the cake.
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy. I've got the look. That's a good angle. That drives the girls wild. I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Let's go. I make them hot. I make them shiver. They just get weak. Whenever I'm around, they see me walk. They hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. That your heart out, girl. Mic flip though. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. Folks, we've got a great one lined up for you, of course, as always, and we're going to go ahead and get into it. Do check out the link in the description for our Ko-Fi. I believe Lean and I are going to be doing a members-only episode later, so go ahead and make sure you're subscribed to our Ko-Fi. Thank you so much to all of our members who support our Gather space. And yes, we try to deliver that members-only content where we can just be totally unfiltered and not have to be worried about all these YouTube losers. Good to see everybody in the chat. Let's go ahead and get this thing going. Time to greet your neighbors, have some communion. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who fled for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. This hood. Drinking wine out of a blender cup. Yeah. All right, y'all. And this one, oh, I forgot. You turned the goddamn autoplay on. Ain't that a bitch? All right. This one's our communion song. That was our communion hymn. This one's called Thank You for Being a Friend. It's Lake Street Dive. Let's get into it. I gotta look at the trees first.
Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say
you see love in a
I
second.
hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off. Won't you stand up and take a bow?
And Manny was third.
Tap would say thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for
All right, I got.
being
Look at the trees.
Thank you for being a
Manny
friend.
Dyson. You see love. Uncle Bob is in the house. Carrie Ann Chrysler.
I'll surely buy you a Cadillac. Anything you need, anytime of
Thanks
the
for being
day
here,
or
gang.
night. I'm not ashamed to say
Oh, Ron Johnson
I
is
hope
here.
it always stays this way. My hat is off. Won't you stand up and take a bow?
Here we go.
When we both get older, with the walking sticks and hair gray, have no fear,
Even though it's hard to hear.
I will stand up close and say thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Oh, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna tell you about a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. And when we die,
Appreciate you.
float away into the stars, the Milky Way.
you hear me call as we ascend. I'll say your name, then once again, thank you for being a. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being a friend. Listen to me. I wanna thank you for being. Thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being.
Yeah, this record smashes. 50 years from now, this will still be an amazing record.
Help me out now.
Thank you right now.
I wanna thank you right now.
Friend, I wanna tell you
Gonna tell you my pal, but I'll tell you again. Thank you. Thank you. What you gonna say? Okay.
All right, gang. This is so interesting. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm just being clickbaited by Derek or what the hell is going on, or if we're taking a trip down memory lane. Gang, what the hell's going on the internet? Because I log in, I'm trying to find something to do for the show, and y'all know how it is. Cousin Jay saw some shit and had to pull Uncle Bobby and say, what the fuck is this? I have just been assuming this entire time that I have been listening to Dennis R. MacDonald that this man has been an atheist. Now, they got up here talking about Dennis R. MacDonald's conversion story, or Dennis R. MacDonald leaves Christianity. I'm like, you have all of my attention and then some. And then I realized, well, what if he has been an atheist the whole time, and this is just a trip down memory lane because he's going to reflect on how he became an atheist. God damn it, I'm no less interested in that story either. And that explains how we find ourselves in the predicament that we find ourselves in right now, which is, I don't know what we're watching. I don't know what we're getting into. I don't know. Y'all probably know. Try not to ruin it. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to. Y'all know responding and reacting is what I do around here, and I can't be responding and reacting if I already know what the hell's going on. All right, so we're gonna, you know how it is, first take only, everything live. Uncle Bobby, what you can hear tell these fools? They first take only, motherfucker. All right, now, hold on, we're doing some blasting, the Glavinoids with the cameras. Ooh, gang, look, let me show you what's going on, man. Look how they do your boy. Look how they do your boy when your boy starts the cameras up. Just let me pull it up and gather so you can see it and gather. How they do me around here. How they treat me in the studio. All right, hang on a sec. Camera, you become this camera. You go there. You go there. Boom. Yep, that'll work for now. Even though I'd rather you do this camera. Look at me. Making moves. All right. Let's see. Then we're gonna do the virtual thingy over here. Look, y'all, this is an impromptu show, man. This is live. This was not planned to be done right now this time of day. We just said fuck it, let's do it live. All right. Now we got there. Okay, boom. There it is. All right, gang. Boop, boop. Do 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 do. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at. That's how they do me. Look at that. That's how they do me. This is what I'm talking. This is what y'all want to see the show like this? No, obviously. Look, so then we gotta focus it. Ooh, and then we hit them with the and now they get hit with the wop airplane mode, sexy stewardess. High over the skies that way, man. Thanks to the NSF again, man. The gear is fantabulous. It's fucking phenomenal. All right. Now, Lena, can you hear me? Lena doesn't care. Lena doesn't give a shit about Dennis R. MacDonald. Lena's just trying to play fucking Skyrim.
Pretty much. Can you hear me, Jay?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, let's get into the story. this clickbaity ass story of a scholar who's already an atheist or not. I don't know what's going on.
And it
planning is
just
overrated.
Shook me, and I called Stormer, who was the author of None Dare Call It Treason. He was talking about against liberals and so on, and I shared that ideology generally. At the end of the lecture, Bob Jones.
Dennis R. MacDonald already telling on himself. He was a big fan of that conservative ideology. Why was you up in here with these folks, Dennis R. MacDonald? Huh? Were you a problem back in the day? I'm teasing y'all. Y'all know we all have been there. Like, I can't, y'all, when I think about the opinions I used to hold, the people I used to follow, the shit I believe, the shit I've said and done recently that is just way off, you know? But nah, that's fine. Let's let the man tell his story. I'm just teasing. I'll let this guy.
Jr. came to the podium and said Martin Luther King Jr. has just been shot in Memphis, Tennessee. And the president has asked us to fly the flag at half-mast, but will not fly the flag at half-mast for an apostate.
Ooh.
At which time, everybody that I could see, everybody, stood and clapped and cheered.
What?
It is the most hateful, racist thing I had ever witnessed.
And that was the day I knew.
It just shook me. And I couldn't believe that I'd let myself get sucked into
a group like this. Yes.
And I told myself, I am not going to be a Christian like that.
Yeah, I gotta go.
That is simply wrong.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like a lot of people this happened to in our times due to like Trump and COVID. but it's happened to even people in my family that went, especially if you went to a predominantly white church. But yeah, a lot of people realized that they fell in with a bunch of really, they kind of wrote off the conservative rhetoric, or yeah, they're Christians, they're conservative, they're traditional or whatever. They kind of ignored it, but then when the rubber hit the road, man, they were like, "Whoa, I think I'm in the wrong group. They think I made friends with the wrong people." All right, let's hang on. Yeah, I gotta hit the stream deck. Like I said, planning is overrated. So we didn't go through the checklist and all of that blase and glavinoids today. All right, look, there it is. There's the soundboard. Let's make sure it works. Oh.
Dr. Dennis R. MacDonald, I really appreciate your time and coming to my house to do these recordings.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I've had a good time. And so what are we doing now?
So in this video, I want to get your story. I want it to be authentic. If you say anything good about me, I'll send you a check. I'm just kidding. No, I'm curious to know what your story is, and we'll focus specifically on the topic of religion. Because, you only have your degree in this very issue. So tell us your story.
I was the son with 3 siblings of a conservative Baptist pastor who was proud to be a fundamentalist. My mother converted from Judaism, and my father felt so strongly about anti-Semitism and anti-Judaism in the Christian church that when he did his thesis for his Master of Divinity degree before becoming a pastor, he was on anti-Semitism in the church. And throughout my father's career, he really worked at making his community interreligious and interracial. And for 10 years, he was a missionary in Italy with my mother, of course, and did his best to make it was a church mostly for military people, in Naples, Italy, often with the Navy. And of course, the Navy has lots of African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asians in it. And he worked very hard to make sure that his church was open to everyone who's there. Now, I'm going to take the story all the way to Bob Jones University, where I went to college, because that's where my parents...
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. This stock footage here...
Now, I'm going to take the story all the way to Bob Jones.
I'm almost positive that is actually Penn State. I always see this used as the stock image. But look, y'all. Let's go. Oh, man. Penn State University. Right, like that's it. that's the one. You can see the stairs and everything. I've been there so many times. I just always recognize it.
University, where I went to college, because that's where my parents had gone, and they wanted me to follow in the Christian fundamentalist tradition. But again, they were more socially responsible and open than most fundamentalists. This was my senior year, 1968, in early April. And during my studies, before that, I had taken lots of Greek and philosophy because I wanted to become a pastor or a missionary and, like my father, save the world for Christ. And we were, all of us students and faculty, were at a large meeting and for a lecture by John Stormer, who was the author of None Dare Call It Treason.
Hey, Maya.
He was a John Birch Society member, and he was talking about
Hey, Maya.
against liberals and so on. And I shared that ideology generally at the time. At the end of the lecture, Bob Jones Jr. came to the podium and said, Martin Luther King Jr. has just been shot in Memphis, Tennessee, April 1968. And the president has asked us to fly the flag at half-mast, but will not fly the flag at half-mast for an apostate, at which time everybody that I could see, everybody, stood and clapped and cheered. It is the most hateful, racist thing I had ever witnessed. And it just shook me, and I couldn't believe that I'd let myself get sucked into an ideology that was so awful. And of course, Martin King was not an apostate. He was a Christian with a different ideology, but he was ordained himself, and he was a preacher. And it was just so outrageous. Well, in the dormitories at Bob Jones, we had prayer meetings every night for about 20 minutes before going to bed. And so I met with that group because I had to, everybody did. And I said, we are not praying today. We're going to talk about what happened. And I said, that was the most disgraceful, racist thing I'd ever seen.
He was pissed.
And I want nothing of it. And you should be ashamed if you stood and clapped with that. And I'd like to have you talk about it. So we talked about it, and then we went to bed. And the next morning, I was called into the dean's office, and they were going to expel me for preventing prayer.
Wow. Yo, this is so fucking crazy. But it just goes to show you, like, Christianity doesn't make people any better. It really doesn't. And even the fact that so many congregations have to talk about all the effort and work they put into making sure people of all different cultures could worship together. It's like, why? Why? Oh, because most people don't fuck with people from different races on Sunday morning. That's pretty screwed up, right? Like, that's wild.
That's what this was about.
Good for him, though.
And it happened that the dean of students was a friend of my father's. They had gone to college together. And he called my dad, and I can still remember this conversation clearly. Ronnie, I hate to inform you that we have to expel Dennis for preventing prayer. And then he talked about what happened, but said nothing about Martin King and all that. And my dad said, I need to talk to Dennis. Is he there? And this person said yes. They handed me the phone, and I told him what happened. And I handed the phone back to the dean, and I heard my dad shouting, Gilbert, you do what you need to. I've never been prouder of my son.
Nice.
And so my dad supported me in the courage that it took me to oppose what was going on at Bob Jones. So instead of expelling me, they moved me into a dorm room with one of their stooges for the final 2 months of my stay there. They piled up the so-called demerits so that if I did anything out of order, including not making my bed in the morning, they could expel me. So I felt imprisoned by it. And I told myself, I am not going to be a Christian like that. That is simply wrong. But I had studied Greek and philosophy and was kind of growing up intellectually. And I had a scholarship to Princeton Seminary. But I wasn't ready to do that yet. So I postponed my scholarship for a year and took a job at a Baptist church in California, Salinas, California. And during that time, Derek, I translated for myself the entire New Testament, and so solidified my Greek. And I was amazed at the moral sensitivity of early Christian literature, interest in compassion. and a certain amount of inclusivity and a concern for justice. And it became clear to me
check it out and gather
that the ethic of the New Testament, and especially of Jesus, had nothing to do with the religion that I had seen at Bob Jones University with fundamentalism. And it totally changed my understanding of where I was going in my quest. I finally went to Princeton.
All right, gang, we got 100 messages in the chat. I gave everybody 1,000 pocket change. Thanks so much.
Seminary, and that was then in 1970, and that's the year that Ivy League school shut down out of opposition to the Vietnam War. And at that time, I was still pretty much a nationalist. You know, I believed in the military. I thought about being a chaplain, but it was clear to me during that year that what we were doing in Vietnam was motivated by wealth and not by compassion, and not really by an ideology of freedom. And I became solidly anti-war. And at that time, then I became really alienated from my own parents, who remained very patriotic and faithful.
Man, this is so hard. Lena, how much of this I can relate to so much of this. But go ahead.
I mean, I didn't have any close military relatives in my childhood, so I can't relate too much. But yeah, like I get the overall sentiment of just having fundamentally different political views from your family.
Yeah. It's also just crazy that we all go through this journey where when you realize that there's so much of that, I'm at the wrong church. You know, I'm with the wrong type of Christians. We don't really, I think, see the pernicious influence of Christianity on the people around us. We just assume we're at the wrong church, and it's, you know, I remember church hopping. Not so I say church hopping, but we were at church for a long time. Finally realized the vision there is problematic. You go to somewhere else. You know, you kind of move around. But it's just interesting how the cognitive dissonance is at work, because we never stop to reflect with, like, wait a second, if this God is supposed to be living in us and transforming us, and, you know, all these people are true believers, how is it not, you know, making them at least decent enough to not be, you know, vehemently bigoted like this? It's really great that, but it's really great that his personal, values compelled him to start this journey. I wonder how many other people this sort of social thing serves as the impetus for their questioning.
I mean, it was part of mine. I don't think I recognized it as much as in retrospect, but, you know, it was definitely an aspect of why I was having so many doubts, just reading the stories in the Bible and thinking, there's no way this is this is a good and just God. Like, there's got to be something more to this. So yeah, there's always that underlying a lot of the questioning and the process of deconstruction.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us keep raising the bar for ourselves. Well, I haven't read the whole text. I haven't really studied it. I don't really know. So like you said, you keep telling yourself there's got to be, something more that you're missing that'll help make it all make sense.
Yeah, and the church is telling you that's okay to not have all the answers because God's mysterious and all that. So just have faith.
Hey, Derek, it's fucking, you got us, bro. Bro, I know what you was talking about out here with this MacDonald leaving Christianity. So we got to jump into this. I was like, I could have swore he was already an atheist. But then I realized it'd still be interesting to hear his deconversion story. But yeah, this has been wild. This has been really wild. I thought it would maybe be more along the intellectual journey. I'm pleasantly surprised and impressed to
hear what was going on with him.
Even though we agreed with each other on issues of race and anti-Semitism and so on. I left Princeton after 1 year and was looking for a form of evangelical Christianity that would have some continuity with my past, but was more progressive on political and moral issues. And I went to Trinity Evangelical Divinity School north of Chicago, and it was as bad as Bob Jones. And I helped found the Sojourner magazine with Jim Wallace. Jim Wallace, you know, is a spokesperson for a left-leaning evangelical voice. So we helped found the Sojourner magazine, which moved to Washington, D.C. at the same time that I had a scholarship to go to Harvard to continue my studies. So I went to Harvard, and at that point, I was still a theist. I was still a Christian identified radical, I guess I'd have to say. I was a part of the hippie movement, and I didn't do drugs, and I didn't do free sex, and so on. I was still
you missed the best parts of the movement, brother.
Goody two shoes. But I was taken in by classics. And so I wasn't in the seminary. I was in the university in a program that merged the classics and early Christianity, and studied with some amazing people. And my minor was Roman reception of Greek philosophy, so we did a lot of translating of Latin and Greek. And I became quite good at it, and became friends with classicists and people in folklore. And after that, I took a job after graduating, took a job at Goshen College, which was a Mennonite college. So it was the Peace Church
that
tradition.
seems like right
and
back
they
to
had a strong social ethic, but I was still a theist at the time.
Right when you're...
But what I didn't realize is that
I was
my
questioning
academic
it as soon
work,
as you said left-leaning.
Yeah. It's but also it's just this is more that interesting. Like I do think this is like, you know, obviously without overthinking it, it's nice when people move towards more socially acceptable positions, right? It's just it speaks to a bigger picture that really I think people are compelled to be, you know, socially equitable, and they're trying to pull themselves in the right direction of history, but clearly they don't want to leave their faith behind. What's interesting, I think, is that so many of the structures are more conservative leaning. Like, you hear them almost, it's like, we had to, you know, go outside the current structure to really organize around progressive values within Christianity, right? Because so many of those churches or church-founded schools, there's an institutional power structure there. And the institutions are inherently conservative, right? They're going to lean towards, well, you got to sign the statement of faith that the Bible is the word of God, and you know they're going to lock you more into the core. And I think that's something that a lot of Christians are dealing with. Is I think they're progressive, and I think even when they go to move to more socially progressive churches and spaces, they're typically disappointed because I think it's more marketing, right? It's more of a quote-unquote progressive church, to me, isn't really progressive. If they're really progressive, they wouldn't be Christians. Instead, what they are is they put some of those bigotries underneath the surface, right? They don't talk about race. They don't talk about homosexuality. They don't talk about evolution. They keep those things out of the pulpit, you know. So, you know, they don't talk about the fact that there are no women in leadership roles. Right? It just takes more time to come out. And then what I find to be problematic is that stuff then is typically really deeply rooted in the congregation because it's not coming out. In other words, if you go to like a Bob Jones or a, you know, Southern Baptist Convention, like somewhere that's really about that, they're going to put it all up front. So you're either going to be on that right-wing nonsense, or, you know, if you're at Greg Locke's church, he's basically going to tell you to get the fuck up out of there. So you already know what it is. The problem with these other churches is, even in my own experience, like you really get in with these people, you think they're so wonderful, and you don't realize how conservative they are, because since these social issues aren't talked about openly from the pulpit, you really got to get to know somebody, and then you realize they all buy into the traditional Christian rhetoric, right? They're all, yeah, I don't hate gay people, but they're on that love the sin, not the sinner. Love the sinner, not the sin, whatever bullshit, right? They have really problematic views and values. They just don't talk about it as openly. And I'm trying to, and this is what I'm struggling with, right? The one commentary is, of course, it's better to move in a direction that makes it peaceful. But even MLK talked about this, right? That we should not prefer a sort of civility or negative peace, which is the absence of tension, I think, as he called it, if I'm remembering correctly, as opposed to a positive peace, which may require some discomfort, but gets us actively moving towards justice. And I wonder if the quote-unquote progressive Christianity is really just actually more of an obstacle, because progressive Christians just end up being like white moderates in the sense of carrying favor and doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the problem rather than being part of the solution.
Took me into Christian Apocrypha and classics more and more, made me a humanist more than a theist. And I realized that doing theology, and for me, being religious, was really getting in the way of my being a scholar. Because there was the assumption that in the New Testament we had revealed truth, and God was speaking through Scripture. And I loved the Bible, and I was interested in working it through. Then I took a job at the Claremont School of Theology. And so I'm still a Christian identified person. I want to make the church more responsible to the war, to the environment, to race, racial equality, income equality, and so on. I wanted to live out the moral values that I saw in the New Testament that were so violated by Bob Jones. And I had a good career at the School of Theology, but even there, even in the liberal Christian environment, my work really wasn't understood or accepted well. So
this is all so interesting to me. So I worked at a church like that, right? A lot of you guys know about. I have a lot of churches I've played at, right? But I actually was on staff at a church. I was the tutoring. Let me get this right. I basically oversaw the tutoring programs, tutoring coordinator, and because it was like a state-funded, city-controlled tutoring programs, lots of paperwork and shit. It was like a employment program. It was a lot. But I basically managed that, and I was the co-director of the summer camp and one of the youth leaders in the church, and also on the worship team. And I was a community organizer, one of very few, people who being an actual community organizer was part of their jobs, even in a city like that. So I loved it, right? And we were like in the, we were in an urban environment doing a lot of the social justice work. So I like, the pastor I worked for was like young, like he was all about it. So I just want to relate in that sense that there are genuinely progressive churches that are doing their damnedest and in some cases, stellar examples of organizations that are doing tremendous social work. I mean, the city loved us, right? Like, we got anything we asked for from the city. If there was a fund or a program, you know, or a leader, like, you know, if that church's name was on it, it was done, because, you know, the work we were doing was so well received, right? But of course, I look back at all of it, you know, and there's that problematic tinge to all of it, right? Because it's done under this banner of Christianity, which ultimately isn't true. And so there's a cost there. There's literally a sense of loss, like a sense of, God damn it, like we did so much good shit, but that won't make it true, right? And so you want to go back to those kids or those people and you want to do everything the same, except not have it under the banner of evangelizing for Jesus. So yeah, this is real time, you know. Even there was something else I really related to, which was him talking about how Christianity isn't helping my scholarship. I oftentimes think of that with my own work. Obviously, for me, it was always about two things, right? It was about understanding humans as a system, and that's what got me into evolution and social dynamics. And, you know, all of that stuff gets you way into evolutionary thinking. And then also, my goal was always about going into law and politics. And there's a reason I was a community organizer. I wanted to, you know, use a legal career as the basis for a career in public service. And it was the same thing there, right? Evolution was a much more powerful framework. You had to understand humans as animals, right? If you're thinking of humans as divine beings who are going to be provisioned by a mighty and merciful God, you're probably gonna behave and orient yourself one way in terms of what your plan of action in a community is going to be. But if you see people as animals who need to eat, shit, sleep, screw, have access to clean water and quality books to not fall behind in education and computers and all of that shit, you're going to behave in a totally different way. But it becomes a sort of, it's hard because it pushes you more to confront the fact that it doesn't accord with your beliefs. But it becomes kind of a blessing in disguise because it gives you like a real out, right? So he's able to like, because I think if you're just personally a Christian, sometimes you don't notice the cost in your life. You know, it's mostly social benefits and whatever. So it's really hard for it to become something you challenge because you don't really have a good reason to walk away from it. Everybody in your life is a Christian. You're celebrated for being a Christian, right? You probably work somewhere where a lot of other people you work with are Christians. It may even maintain you on the fast track to promotion, right? Some of y'all work someplace where, be honest, if everybody in your workplace knew you was an atheist, they might not fire you. But as far as being upwardly mobile to the next levels of management, you know you can forget that shit already, right? Right, but it's different if you can be like, wait, I'm actually trying to do real scholarship, and bringing these type of presuppositions to the table is in helping me publish, right? And as an evolutionary biologist, I could totally relate to that because that was a big part of no longer identifying as a Christian. Christians were attacking the people I worked for. The Christians were attacking my advisor by name, right? Because we're evolutionary biologists. Think about that. Christians organizations were using student groups on our campus so they could host a bullshit ass creation summit. The only reason they wanted to host a bullshit ass creation summit at MSU was because of the Beacon Center where I worked, because we were doing revolutionary work and evolution action. We were literally doing the type of experimental work that demonstrates evolution as a process you can observe in real time and use to solve problems. My advisor was hailed all types of Darwin awards and it's been called Darwin's missing evidence, and it's the longest running evolution experiment in the history of science. Rod Pennock, who runs Avita, who's my current teaching mentor. Charles Afria, who wrote the Avita. These people were mentioned by name with the chest beating. Oh yeah, they should come debate us unless they're too scared, right? So it puts you in a position. You're like, wait a second, I'm part of the fucking, I'm part of the teaching staff here, right? I teach and do research at this university. You used one of our student groups so you could host some bullshit anti-scientific summit. Yeah, no, I don't want to be anything to do with the group, with an organization that would do some shit like that. Wait, you called out the people that sign my paychecks, the people that brought me here and make sure I don't skip meals? You're gonna attack them? For being what? For what? What? What's that for? Oh, for being excellent at their job. What? For what? What? For winning awards? What? For being amazing educators? Oh, you're gonna attack them? Yeah, no. Right? And then you realize that you're in the middle of that whole creation evolution thing, and you can't keep sitting on the sidelines and being like, oh yeah, I'm an evolutionary biologist, but I still culturally identify as Christian. Haha, hee hee, cute. Isn't that cute? I can get along with everybody now, right? You realize like, nah, bro. Them Christians ain't fucking with them evolutionary biologists, and you got to decide where your bread is buttered, right? And that really that's not what brought about my doubts, right? I already didn't take the Bible literally. I already was super woke. I already was progressive as shit, right? But that's what made me not want to identify with these fucked up ass Christians any longer. And I'm just being honest with y'all, it's easier when you have that type of professional reason. It just makes it so much easier to take the step because you're like, look, y'all are fucking up in my career. Sorry, I gotta go.
I just had, my becoming an atheist was a gradual thing. It probably started at Harvard when I became so interested in other cultures and in classics and became much more interested in history and human diversity and the humanness of
Thanks
the
for
Christian
helping people
movement.
out with that, Carrie Ann.
And became really suspicious of all kinds of theology.
Thanks, Uncle Bobby.
I've said it before in other broadcasts, but maybe I should say it again. For me, theology is a long four-letter word. And people sometimes think that because I'm a biblical scholar, I'm a theologian. No, I'm an anti-theologian. Theology usually gets in the way. Not all of them, but often it does because it's looking for normativity, a revelation. And of course, theology is discourse about something that, in my view, doesn't exist. So, save your breath and let's talk about humankind and let's talk about ethics and let's get politics right. And so.
And gang, this is the proper journey to secularism, and it is what most universities have realized, right? Like he said, you can go to a university and you can study the New Testament. You can study the ancient scriptures in their literature and their translations and what was going on in the societies around them, right? But you cannot go to most universities, public ones, and get degrees in theology. Why? Because you don't use tax money to fund programs in hocus fucking pocus. It just doesn't make any sense. And this is something that so many believers fail to realize. It's like the jig is up. You've lost. I realize this, I hate to say it, y'all, but even with my own family, believers take this shit personally, like their faith is under attack. They don't realize the world has just moved on. And we know this shit is not real. We're done. So when believers really ask for you to intellectually accommodate their wild ass beliefs, they're literally asking for you to give them permission to not live in reality. And then they're putting pressure on you to act like that's okay. And it's not. And it's laid bare by the fact that most public universities have literally decided this isn't even a productive area of scholarship. It doesn't produce real fucking applications that are practical to people's lives. Oh. But that's a problem, right? Because the whole industry now and all those people who got all those PhDs are effectively dealing with a sunk cost fallacy, right? They've literally built all that education, all their careers, all their social and economic cachet on some bullshit.
So basically, that's my story. So when I was at Claremont, I had a wonderful library. I became the director for 10 years of the Institute for Antiquity and Christianity. We had several funded projects going in antiquity, including Greek rhetoric, the Hebrew Bible. We had our own archaeological site in Palestine. We had a project on Christian Apocrypha and so on. So I had wonderful support there and great libraries and bright enough students, some of whom are carrying the torch even now. And so during that time, I published probably a dozen books and I don't know how many articles and reviews. But now we have it distilled in my new book, Synopses of Epic Tragedy and the Gospels. This is not going to be my last book, but it's a penultimate book, and it's the crowning achievement of my career. So the next book is going to be an argument that builds on this book and justifies some of its conclusions and methodologies. So really, that's it, Derek. I came from fundamentalism. I became disaffected with fundamentalism because of racism and then American patriotism. I became enamored of the moral vision of Jesus and the Gospels, which continues to nurture me. So I consider myself a Christian-identified humanist and a theoskeptic.
Yeah, and I hate that.
I'd rather talk about myself that way than being an atheist.
So he still sees himself culturally, like as culturally Christian. All right, Lena, go ahead, Lena. This is so good.
The
just got so deep.
Slavery and he's just ignoring what's actually in the Bible. I mean,
that threw me. I wasn't ready for that.
The power structure, the entire dynamics.
It is. It really. This is a tough nut for me to crack, because this is where I was, right? This is exactly where I was, right? If you'd have asked me my stances on racism, you know, I would have told you as a Christian, I identified as an ally, wouldn't back away from it, not for 1 second. Again, I knew that I was aware of the science. It was a stupid issue. It was a non-issue, right? Like I really was progressively very close to who I am. Now, I lacked a lot of nuance that I've gained since, but you know, I certainly was more or less on the same side of history I am now, but I hung on to the idea of being a Christian. I could have gone, and I was kind of in my own way journeying towards mythicism. Like when I even started to think about mythicism, it wasn't even really about, oh, if Jesus wasn't real, I'll no longer be a Christian. It was more of a hunch that if there wasn't a historical Jesus, that it was likely confirming the sort of mythic intent of the example, right? So yeah, but I hear it now, right? Like as an atheist, hearing him say this is difficult for me. But I I can't say I don't understand because I was there. But I'm shocked that he's there. It also feels like he thinks atheist is a bad word. Sorry, Lena, I didn't mean to ramble.
I don't know why. I don't know why he's still. I mean, I just don't get it, and hopefully he explains it.
Yeah. Maybe it's a like logos type thing. I guess we'll see. But really interesting.
But what I believe is not so important. What's more important for me is the contribution I can make with the education that I've had in order to help others break away from fundamentalism that has so many dire consequences in American life right now, and from America to the world. You know, the January 6th crowd are largely Christian nationalists, and we have others who are suspicious of environmental science because they believe in revelations, Jesus is coming back soon. And I don't think the world can survive Christian fundamentalism very much longer. And so this is my weapon in the culture war to say, get over it. I'm not telling you not to be a Christian. I'm telling you to be a smart and a morally responsible Christian. And I would say the same thing to Muslims or Jews or I'm not trying to get you to change your religion. I'm trying to make sure your religion doesn't harm yourself and others. And that's why, for me, I'm an ethical pragmatist. I want to know what ideas do in the world, who it hurts and who it helps. And so basically, that's my story.
That was really powerful. There's a lot in there that I.
All right. There's gonna be some more here. We're getting close. We got a little bit of time though. This has just been so good. I just want to let's chew up this a little bit before we get into the last part. But Lena, go ahead and get in here. Just say things. Just say words in English.
I want to hear. I know Derek's gonna be supportive, and that's good. And we want to be supportive of any movement to the left possible. So we'll just tack it up as progress towards deconstruction.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. I'm also wondering, Derek, you should have gone Bible scholar Dennis R. MacDonald can't leave Christianity. It wouldn't have mattered. There's nothing. You could have not put a title and just you and Dennis, and I'd have been like, what? But no, I like I said at the beginning, the fact that I was like, I'm already pretty sure he's been an atheist this whole time. So you had me at hello, like this is like the ultimate clickbait. Of course, I want to hear about him leaving Christianity, given that I've assumed he's an atheist the whole time. And then I was like, well, maybe he has been an atheist the whole time, but he's just gonna talk about how he left Christianity. And I was like, yeah, exactly. I haven't heard him talk about that. I'd still be super interested in that. But now I'm realizing this is like he can't leave the Christian identity yet. This is the process happening in real time. Yeah, I think you're right, Lena. That's the movement, and I think a lot of us have like gone through this movement in different ways. And I guess I just assumed because he's the type of person who puts jet fuel into my critical perspective, right? He's like somebody whose work you kind of used to critique Christianity. You're just assuming he must be 18 steps ahead of us down that journey because this is his work. And in some way, maybe he still is, right? Like maybe when I was thinking about this, he said he's an ethical pragmatist, right? So
I missed that part.
Yeah, he just said he's an ethical pragmatist or whatever. So, and I don't know if this is what he's thinking again. I'd love to chat with him. I need to do more. I need to work harder to connect and make content with other scholars. That's a big part of what I'm trying to do is figure out where, our work and our stories kind of connect and just, you know, get in there with the rest of these guys. But what I'm wondering now is, and yet to me, it does assume a little bit of, let's just say, main character syndrome for Christians and whatever the associated main group phenomena would be. But I can imagine, again, like, it's almost like, for me, right, where Jesus became like a meta character, right, that you could sort of project your ultimate ideals onto. Like, I always tell people, like, my Jesus is like a cross between like MLK and Bob Marley or something or whatever, right? Like, whatever I thought was the perfect example of wokeness, right? But I think there's a way in which people, I hate to say this, but it's almost like a Jordan Peterson type Christ, right? And then from there, you know,
it's just cafeteria Christianity.
Yeah, it is, right? But yeah, of course. Yeah, but it's you know, I think a lot of people think that's the pragmatic way to go right now from where they're at. Right? Like, let's yeah. Like, I don't think it's an abandonment of his principles that made him leave fundamentalism, right? He's trying to, like, get there without tossing aside I'm imagining the love your neighbor as yourself Jesus, right?
Right, because there are decent aspects to it.
Yeah.
But not within the context, not within any context that takes any of it literally, and to the extent that you take it figuratively, it can be problematic too. So
yes, yeah, agreed. But that's just
I'm not saying
we're
we
just talking
scrap
about
the
where he's
Bible
at.
entirely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it needs to be taken with a historical, critical lens.
Yeah, and I think the identity is problematic. But yeah, I'm. This is really interesting. All right, so now you got me. Now we've got me wanting to hear the rest of this. You ready, Lena? All right.
Well, let's see.
I definitely relate with, and I really appreciate you telling us this. You know, you said at the end, I don't want to change people's religion. And I literally heard myself say in my head, I don't want to change people's religion either, but I want to change people's religion. And what I mean is, you can believe what you want. You know, you want to believe that Jesus really is. There's something that may have happened. I don't know. It's a faith thing. Cool. I have nothing against that. Really don't. I really don't. Now, I personally have my reasonings. And I can give you those. But I definitely would say, I want to change their religion in the sense that keep your religion, but change it. You see what I'm saying? If that's what you want. Would I be happy to see other humanists? Absolutely. And in fact, I would say when you said that you became a humanist over time, people have asked me, when did you become an atheist? And I'm like, that's a good question. Because
here's what's interesting. I'm with Derek, but I kind of took it a different way. Like, it's weird for me. Y'all know me, I'm very anti-religion. And so I'm the, you know, and I've decided to even change my tone. I don't know if those of y'all that are new, but when the new year turned, you know, everybody, I'm not a New Year's resolution type, but I am let's think about what we want to do this year, right? And one of the things I wanted to change about my tone was I wanted to actually go forward with the message, no, really, I'm an anti-theist. I think, there's no God. I think people should leave religion. I think I think it's time to stop being a Christian, right? And I call it pushing the button, right? There just comes a time when you know, we've discussed it enough. We've heard everybody's perspective right now. All right, I'm pushing
When I use the term
sorry, hang on.
atheist-
I actually pushed a button. I didn't mean to push a button. But yeah, it's like I'm actually hitting the red button. It's time to end Christianity. But I'm not about forcing people out of it, and I'm certainly not about, you know, barring them from practicing it privately. I just think they deserve the truth, and I want to change what they want. You know, I've disconnected. I don't know why you'd want this fantasy that you're going to live forever if there's no evidence of it. You know, I don't know why you'd want to believe that this is a sacred book if we can literally prove that most of its substantial claims are at best false and most oftentimes completely without any historical precedence, and they're literally most of the meaningful stories are fairy tales. So, and in the sense of, but I get the impetus of actually changing the religions, but I don't think religions are meant to grow this way. That's the thing. I really do believe that a lot of religions, and Christianity in particular, are fundamentally anti-humanist. You know, they at least the Christianity practice in America, like, hates humanity. Like, it loathes human nature. Right? To the point that God hates human brains. Think about that. Right? Because think of all the thought crimes that nobody can avoid. Right? Lusting after your neighbor's wife or their thing that you want, right? Or, you know, whatever it is, right? All these thought crimes that we talk about, judging people's lifestyle and their, right? Why are we fighting this freaking war against queer people that has us having to defend their fucking lives? Because the Bible's disgusted. It literally finds human nature despicable. So it's just very hard, and I think that's what pushed me a little bit further, I guess I would say, and maybe eventually it'll push Dennis R. MacDonald a little bit further. Maybe not, right? Because he's a biblical scholar, and he may have found a way to get, you know, progressive enough to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And again, we probably do need some people to work from within. Y'all know I'm about that life, right? Like, I don't know. Lena, you know how someone threw me under the bus for being a worship drummer, right? And we had an honest conversation. Like, maybe it's time to reconsider that activity, right? And I did, and I got to a point where I was like, maybe I could go back to the life I originally committed to, which was never doing that again. And then I was like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the solution either.
Well, and I don't know what aspects MacDonald is keeping. Like, which verses, which books of the Bible, for what aspects that it says. Like, I have a feeling if we really dug into his politics, I mean, maybe there's a lot that he's still exploring there, right? Given the fact that he's a biblical scholar, and was a Christian. Like, I think that there's just a lot of philosophical learning for everyone to do who's deconstructing.
Right. Yeah, me too. These are all like good questions. I'd love to see them do like more like follow-ups to this.
Yes.
All right, I'll play this.
I no
and then
longer
we'll
believed in a
chat
God.
before we get out of here.
What they think is that means you don't believe in anything. No, I believe in something.
That's right.
And it's us. You see, I believe in what I could see, what I can experience, and believe that humanity can do good. And in fact, I think that humanity is ethically, I would say, more moral than we give ourselves credit for. We think it's the gods. We think it's this. We think it's that. Sure, there's a lot of bad out there. But I'm saying there's no Adam and Eve fell, and we all fall, and we're in this treachery downhill. No, we're rising apes, not fallen angels. And so I love your story.
Rising apes, not falling angels.
I love your
it.
story. I about teared up when your dad said, I've never been more proud of him. And I've had my dad do stuff like that for me in ways where it makes me think back and tear up. So Dennis, I hope somebody listens to your story and understands how someone like you just wants to do better. And I hope that people will get your book, because your book is taking all your experience. One day it'll be a memory. And you've put all this hard work into this one area where people can go and they could see the beauty reflected in what you're observing in this literature, and take back the literature from those who might use it in a negative way. So,
yeah. I guess I want to end by this. In my date book, for every week, I have a sticker that I created that says, create something beautiful. And if at the end of the week I haven't created something beautiful, I remind myself that in the next week I need to do it. And so that is always in front of me. But create something beautiful means one uses what skills, and for me, they happen to be about ancient history and languages and so on. I need to do that. But another way to create beauty is to be a good parent. It's to be a good custodian of the earth, because environmental damage is not beautiful, it's ugly. Child abuse is ugly, it's not beautiful. So when I talk about beauty, I talk about it in the Socratic Platonic way. Beauty is a moral category. It is not an aesthetic category only. And so what I encourage people who are engaged with my work to put in their calendars on a monthly basis anyway, to create something beautiful, to use the gifts and the time that you have as a way of making this globe and the human experience more manageable.
All right. Sorry, I didn't optimize that. That was super interesting. I think Lena dipped and went to get food. So might have to wrap this on up by myself. But yeah, that was really interesting. I love Dennis's work. Definitely one of the people that helped me understand the influence in evidence for the influence of these other manuscripts on the biblical text, and his mythicism stuff, I think, has also really been important in, like, you know, helping me understand the case. And I'm trying to understand the case for both sides of that issue, because I'm genuinely agnostic and also don't really think it is super important. But it is something that obviously is a big curiosity for a lot of us. Man, I'm of two minds about these things. There's some other pretty progressive Christians that we've come across out here, and I do have to admit that I like most of them, and you know, I think they're pretty cool. I guess I just don't get it anymore at some level. Like I was thinking at some level there's this effort to, it almost feels like save the label. Like we say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, you know, there's this way in which we can, you know, maintain the Christian label as a good social marker of someone's. I just think it's got so much baggage at this point. And at the end of the day, it's rooted in some really like, does Dennis R. MacDonald believe Jesus was born to a virgin, died for our sins, and is coming back, right? And if not, then cool. Like, I didn't either. I got to a point as a Christian that was just a story and part of it, and it meant all this allegorical stuff, ... but why, right? But yeah, that would be an interesting conversation. Matter of fact, this is the type of conversation I'd like to have, right? I would so much more love to sit down with some scholars who understand the faith and the Bible from a perspective that I'll probably never have the opportunity to fully appreciate, and then discuss what the faith means to them and, you know, how it plays out in their lives and stuff like that. That to me is really cool, as opposed to, you know, talking to an apologist who just wants to hit you with the philosophically already debunked argument, or, you know, debate some topic that really shouldn't even be debated. It would be a lot more fruitful, I think, for me to start to understand how people are maintaining their identity, hopefully with somebody who's just going to have a good faith conversation about it. It's very encouraging to see now that we've heard that. It's very encouraging to see Dennis's interactions with Derek and Dr. Carrier. You know, he's always been so in sync with those dudes. I just assumed he was a goddamn atheist. And cool, I'm super happy that he's doing the humanist Christian thing. Look, y'all, for a long time, I tried to do the atheist Christian thing. Like, I felt like I was an atheist in the sense that I no longer accepted the claims of the religion. I didn't believe in the supernatural. Like, I was, you know, functionally an atheist in terms of the way my perspective, but I still saw myself as a Christian because I saw Christianity as sort of like an ethnic social identifier that, you know, I explained a lot about my life in a way that made it all make sense to me, and actually to me helped explain why I wasn't so far removed from Christianity. Like, he's like, oh, I still can, you know, I'm still someone who can participate in a church or be part of a worship team and celebrate Christian holidays and hang out with my Christian friends. And, you know, I don't have to radically change the lifestyle I lived compared to when I was a Christian. I just don't believe anymore. So who knows? We could compare notes and find out that we're in quite similar places, even if we're just using different language to discuss it. But yeah, that was awesome. That was really worth the watch. Very cool story. Right on, brother. Way to be radical, Dr. MacDonald. Stay woke. Definitely appreciate it, man. I do mean appreciate it, because I do feel that there are so many religious communities that ignore bigotry just to maintain part of the group. So, you know, the man really put himself out there and then carried on with it to this day. It seems like. So it's good for him. He's got an awesome story. Of course, Derek is incredible. Derek, thanks so much for sharing that with us. Thank y'all for joining me. Tried to give some commentary there. It was fun. Yeah, I'm sure most of y'all are already subscribed to Mythvision podcast, but if you're not, please go give Derek a sub. Matter of fact, let me pull it up real quick. Make sure I give that video a like. We'll add a little comment. Because, you know, Derek definitely needs help with the algorithm. Hey, Derek does need help with the algorithm, y'all. Don't let these numbers fool you. 95,000 subscribers. That don't mean shit to me. Okay? That's still small out here on YouTube, man. We gotta remember that even the biggest content creators in our community are small, and we still got to do everything we can with the algorithms to help them push, help them grow, so that they could push towards mainstream, maybe. And come on, who out here is doing better work than fucking Derek, right? So it's kind of a tragedy that he's not up there in the hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers. And hopefully one day, right? Hopefully, as much as he's put in all the great work he's done, hopefully this is just the beginning. I hope that for a lot of us. But yeah, thank y'all so much for watching, gang. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. My dad's gonna call me soon, talk about some housing stuff. Y'all know I'm trying to move in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be in Gather, hoping to do a members only after that with Lena. And, then we're going to hopefully relax, do some gaming tonight. And I think we'll be hanging out in Gather because, the playoffs start. So come hang out, watch the NBA playoffs with us. The conference finals start. We'll probably watch that and Gather. And then we'll get into HBO Max. So come into Gather so we can max and relax. Yes, that's going to be the vibes, y'all. All right, everybody. Thank y'all so much. Love y'all. See you next time. Set 'em gone.
Zach? Why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the house not a home. Sunshine cause she heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answering my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too boss. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. In the game throwing laws like Paul. Young legend Miss John like Wall. And I wish you never met like Call. Dick game lay it down like law. Made plans but you canceled them all. I was just trying to splurge in the mall. Now I'm home stacking bread till you call. It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl.
We smoking that side. I'm trying to get high. She said that she not ready for love, stop wasting my time. I got demons in my closet, I can't hide. I did all my exes wrong, they wish I died. Damn, I tried. They won't believe me when I say this. Oh my God, what a blessing. Hello Phoenix, that's my twin. I told these hoes they won't get my heart again, not again. Cause they went missing when I needed just a friend. They went missing, yeah, they all went missing. They don't want no smoke, they hit the blunt and started tripping. My daughter about to be 5, I ain't got no time to be bitching. I'm still reminiscing, we ain't had no food in the kitchen.